riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that we has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, Snork to my Smurfs, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how the hell are you, friend?
I'm doing great this week, Garrett. I am impressed by you, and I really enjoy what you've done this week.
I am cautiously optimistic?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Please explain yourself.
Oh, well, you know how much I love this spooky season. You know how much I love being spooked. You know how much I love spooks. So, wait. Yeah,
Anyway.
that all checks out. My point being that you really went above and beyond this year, Garrett. The slow transition this month from a pool of interns in Dutch to one by one them turning into demons. The cloven hooves, the articulating tail, the horns sticking from their skulls. Just the gradual transition from October 1st to today, October 31st, of these interns. You did a great job. They are terrifying.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not been down to the Dutch pen in a bit and have almost no idea what you're talking about.
Interesting. So that team that came from Neuralink, that wasn't you.
Oh my god. Do not let those people in.
Oh, I already did, Garrett. I assume that's why the tails were so articulating. Somebody tusked several of our interns, and I assumed it was you helping me to enjoy the spooky season.
How have they taken to it?
Well, they seemed, as you would expect, Garrett, they're dressed like demons. They're screaming in torment and horror. I assumed to spook me.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Garrett, I want to take back my good vibes from earlier.
Yeah.
Somebody is tusking our interns.
Listeners, write in. Are you performing several irreversible and horrifying procedures on our interns? hatePodMail@gmail.com. And if not, do you know a way to untusk someone?
Yes. I would even settle for getting rid of that reddish hue to their skin. Like if they were just normal people colored with the horns and the horrible goat hooves and the tails that they have been using to get beers from the fridge. Yeah, well, they're in a lot of pain, Garrett. I can't deny them a beer every now and then.
No, that's fair. You've painted a truly horrific, if not completely confusing picture, Tim. So thank you on this scary of scary days, Hallows Eve, and welcome everybody to the final day of the October scaretacular spooktathlon here on the Why I Hate This Album podcast. I'm sure it will not extend beyond Halloween.
Well, Garrett,
the rules.
Listen. These guys might keep turning into demons. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to grant a special exception this year. If these people continue to be, and folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, congratulations. You've never seen Tusk. Go ahead and keep it that way.
No. Michael Parks. Michael Parks does a great job in that.
God, he really does. I have heard rumors that there's a script, or at least an outline for Tusk 2. And
the untuskening? The long surgical film of them fixing Justin Long? The blueprint for what we're going to have done to our interns?
It has a very different tone. It's more about the triumph of the human will and how he overcomes 36 surgeries to have an almost normal life.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Susan Sarandon plays a psychiatrist helping him to what does he play in there? A walrus? To unwalrus himself? You eat from a plate, not from a bucket of mackerel. I want to see this movie. But no, I believe the sequel would be much more predictable. Something along the lines of Justin Long is now tusking people himself.
But he doesn't really have hands anymore to perform delicate
surgeries. Been untusked. Okay. He's been untusked.
All right. So we missed the interim. Maybe it's like a montage of them untusked. It doesn't matter. I don't know why we're talking about this. Kevin Smith is never going to make this stupid movie.
Yeah, I blame you. Okay, back to the reason that we are recording ourselves speaking. Tim, what what album have you been listening to for an entire week straight?
Well, Garrett, as I watch these interns slowly, one by one, transition into demons, I have been listening to the incredibly spooky album Hell Awaits by Slayer.
And after an entire week listening to the speed metal that is Slayer, I have to ask, and boy am I curious, do you hate this album?
Not yet, but here's the kicker, Garrett. I fear it. I am concerned that we are putting the fate of our immortal souls in jeopardy just by listening to this, right? Like you and I are safe. We have our very nice Italian driving moccasins on, but I mean, we can't get shoes over the hooves of these interns.
Oh, I'm not worried about them. Also, Tim, just honestly, best case scenario, we're going to put them out of their misery. There's no fixing. There's no untusking. Frankly, I don't even really want to know what's happened down there. I just want to get rid of it.
And by it, you mean them. Got it. Done. Garrett, do you hate this album?
Oh, heck no.
Oh, you love
heck
it.
no. No, don't love it. There's too much truly dreadful statements in this album to love it, but I like it.
Yeah, I find it indulgent and kind of bad, but okay.
Agree. And I like it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, my taste has been terrifically torn asunder over the course of the last 4.5 years with this show. Oh, shit, almost 5.
It's almost 6. What are you talking? You can't tell time and you don't know how to number prepisodes. I'm just saying. Please don't slap me.
Let's compromise. I agree, and I'm going to slap you.
Okay.
Yeah, we give a little, get a little.
Garrett.
Yeah, it's happening right now. I was gonna warn you, and then I said, fuck it, I'll just slap him.
Well, it hurt a lot.
Anyway, yeah, well, hurtful words, hurtful cheeks. Anyway, no, I don't hate this, and we'll get into why in just a moment, but before we do, I am curious, Tim, prior to this week, have you ever even been remotely near a Slayer album? Is this the first time you have witnessed Hell Awaiting?
It's the first time I think I've witnessed this album. I am semi-familiar with Slayer, but it's mostly from it being in things. They're usually used, in my experience, as sort of a stand-in for the death metal or the speed metal or whatever. This is a thing like on South Park, if they have to have a stand-in for death metal, they'll use like Rain and Blood or Gremlins 2. So I know it from those two things.
Slayer's in Gremlins 2?
Oh yeah. We need to watch Gremlins 2 after Godzilla, 1998's Godzilla, Garrett. And if you think about it, a gremlin is just a tiny Godzilla.
I agree entirely. Well, it's a super smart Godzilla for one thing.
I would argue that Godzilla is pretty goddamn smart.
Say more.
All right. If you want to turn this into a 1998's Godzilla podcast, I am game.
I don't. Let's get that out. Let's get that out there. But I will take just a brief moment. Let's pull the car over for a minute before we get to Hell Awaits. What's smarter, a gremlin or a Godzilla?
A Godzilla.
No way.
He's less like mischievous, sure.
That's not what I mean. I mean, gremlins have a language.
Godzillas have a language. What are you talking about?
I've never seen it.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You can't just say, what are you talking about? That's not an argument.
Godzillas have a language. There's just very few of them. There's not that many of them that, they don't talk to each other that much because, they're gigantic. It doesn't matter. Right. Garrett, is this the first time you've been slayed?
I feel like you just ejected yourself from an unwinnable argument.
I would have won.
I disagree.
Have you been slayed before?
No, I haven't. Yeah, this is one of those bands that I've always known of and never had any interest in. I have come damn close to knowing Slayer. Aren't they considered kind of like one of the big four in the Metallica era?
They are.
So, I had plenty of friends that loved Slayer, but I was just more of a Metallica kid. I never much cottoned to the hell, demon, Satan aspect of it. To me, a album about hell is as silly as an album about heaven.
Well, right. And I mean, we'll get into this, but I would argue Christian band.
Okay, well, we need to spend less time together because that's definitely in my notes and probably would not be in anyone else.
They might not be on the side of the Lord. They might be on the Dark Lord side, aka the Angel of Light, but they definitely believe everything that's in the Bible, which I would argue makes you a Christian.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, so you haven't been slayed? I haven't been slayed.
No, never slayed. You've not not really been slayed. That's your history. That's my history. Before we can talk about the album itself, all 7 songs. That's right. Confusing. We need to understand a little bit about the boys who made it. So Tim, take us on a journey. Help us understand who is Slayer and how did Hell Awaits come to be?
Well, Garrett, Slayer began life in 1981 in sunny Huntington Park, California, one of the most evil places on the planet, basically a haunted castle in the Scottish moors. It was formed by Kerry King on guitar, Jeff Hanneman on also guitar, Tom Arroyo on vocals and bass, and Dave Lombardo on drums. This is the founding lineup. It changes slightly throughout their tenure, but this is also the lineup that made the album of the week. Now, Kerry Ray King, aka K-Ray, was born in LA to an aircraft parts inspector and a phone company employee. I'm guessing that means switchboard operator, not some sort of phone sex operator, but it could have been.
I assume they worked on the lines.
I think it was his mom. They don't have a lot of ladies on that job.
Such a misogynist.
K-Ray learned guitar starting at about 13 because he kept getting into trouble and his dad wanted to give him a hobby. He was super into Van Halen, Judas Priest, and Ted Nugent, particularly Cat Scratch Fever, which leads me to ask, how have we not done a Nugisode yet?
That is a great question. Put it on the board, Gino.
Jeffrey John Hanneman, aka JJ Hanneman, was from Long Beach, California. He grew up with a father who fought in Normandy, brothers that fought in Vietnam, and he fought in nothing. He got into heavy metal from his older sister, who introduced him to Black Sabbath. Then he got into hardcore punk. He's also super into Nazi memorabilia and history. He collects German war medals, including some his dad allegedly took from dead Nazis, and what he describes as his most prized possession, a German Knight's Cross or Iron Cross that was the highest award for Nazi military forces during World War II. He's the guy that writes lyrics about Nazis, and he met K-Ray while working as a telemarketer. Tomas Enrique Araya Diaz, aka Tommy D. Yeah, Araya Diaz, aka Tommy D. He's from Chile. His family moved to LA when he was 5. His older brother played guitar, so he was forced to play bass. They played a lot of Beatles and Rolling Stones songs growing up. Then he became a respiratory therapist prior to and partially during this band's tenure. He's the guy that writes lyrics about serial killers, saying, I'm trying to see where these guys are coming from, so maybe I'll understand. It's always kind of intrigued me.
I mean, we all enjoy true crime.
This podcast is 60% true crime.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Honestly, we should really push that angle. I see a lot of other podcasts with 30% less true crime than us doing way better.
Yes. Finally, David Lombardo. He was born in Havana to a meat marketeer perhaps, and his family moved to Southgate, California after his brothers moved to the U.S. as part of the creepily named Operation Peter Pan, where a bunch of Cuban miners were snuck into the U.S. amid fears that Castro was going to take everyone's kids away and put them into some sort of communist indoctrination centers, raised by the state and such. He got into music playing bongos to Santana songs. Then he started a school band, playing along to Kiss albums. Then he became a DJ when he heard disco music. Then he worked for Diesel Energy Systems Company. And then he heard about K-Ray King and just went over to his house and insisted on meeting him and then insisted on being in a band with him.
Okay.
Slayer began playing parties and clubs in Southern California, or as I have nicknamed it, SoCal. They were doing covers of Iron Maiden, Venom, Black Sabbath, etc. They were originally named Wings of Fire before Slayer, which is slightly less metal.
Before somebody turned to the other and said, our name is terrible, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a rumor that they were originally named Dragon Slayer after the terrible 1981 film. They deny this so vehemently that it has to be true, right?
Yeah, has to be. Also, Dragon Slayer. Terrible movie.
Yeah, and terrible band name.
Yes, correct.
Anyway, Garrett, Dragon Slayer also notably used lots of satanic themes, pentagrams, inverted crosses, spikes, etc., because all of that is very heavy metal. Dave Lombo came up with the logo. He wanted it to look like a murderer had carved it into a guy with a knife, but being some sort of left-handed freak, which kind of goes with this band loving Satan because that's the hand the devil uses, that's why the logo is kind of weirdly slanted,
Right, because he's lefty.
Yeah. Sinister stuff.
I mean, I don't trust left-handed people, do you?
Because they're sinister. They're of the devil.
Well, I think that it shows a lack of conformity.
They had conviction. Yeah, agreed.
I like that. Far better. Hold on. Let us not move on. Let's continue to castigate the other. I have a theory, backed up by several scientists, whom I will not name, that all people are right-handed.
Yeah, absolutely they are. What do you mean?
I was not expecting you to say that.
No. Garrett, all people made in God's image are, of course, right-handed. Now, there are a small percentage of people that from birth are inhabited by spirits of evil, and they are the left-handed people. The left-handed can really only be saved by a strong Catholic education where nuns slap you on the back of the hand with a ruler if you use that devil hand. We all know this.
Yeah, I will say I have for sure met people that went to Catholic school and were left-handed, and the nuns were like, "The fuck you are."
Yeah, because it's the devil's hand, Garrett. It is sinister. Sinestro.
That's amazing. Yeah, I didn't mean that at all, but just to be clear.
I do.
I meant, we all know what you mean. You don't have to clarify what you meant. You said it.
Yes. In 1983, Garrett, Dragonslayer opened for the band Bitch in Anaheim, and Brian Slagel saw them. Now, Bry Slag was the founder of Metal Blade Records and did the Metal Massacre compilation album series, which was where Metallica's first commercial recordings can be heard. He had them do a song for Metal Massacre 3, and then they got a recording contract with Metal Blade. Now, unfortunately, Metal Blade had no money, so the band financed their debut album, Show No Mercy, from Tommy D's respiratory therapist savings and some money borrowed from K-Ray's dad. That album came out at the end of 1983 and was fairly popular for what it was. It ended up selling about 40,000 copies, partially on the strength of a club tour of California around this time.
How do you have a record label, and you sign people to that record label, but then you're like, oh, I don't have any money?
Garrett, do you remember one time when you you served as a record label and released a record?
Yes, I am very much aware that I own a record label.
Right. And you have no money.
I had money.
Yes, I guess this was before the Tim in the podcast. Anyway, Garrett.
Well, sure, that's why I have a record label now that doesn't release albums, but I stopped signing artists.
That's fair. Then Garrett, K-Ray joined Megadeth, but he would leave that band after 5 shows, presumably because Dave Mustaine is kind of insufferable, and Megadeth and Dragonslayer have some sort of feud after that. In 1984, Dragonslayer released the EP Haunting the Chapel, and then did their first national tour, driving in Tommy D's Camaro with a U-Haul behind it. I assume most of the band members were in the U-Haul, and it all sounds really unpleasant.
Yeah.
In 1985, they did a national tour with Venom and Exodus, as well as shows with Megadeth and other poorly named bands. Metal Blade was able to finance the recording of their next album, and they released Hell Awaits in 1985. It was produced by Ron Fair, and everyone kind of agreed the production could have used a little more production. Now, Garrett, to give you an idea of just how metal these guys are, they did the Combat Tour for this album with Venom and Exodus, and they bonded with Exodus over both these guys loved Venom. I guess Venom was a little older than they were. And Tommy D, well, the whole band really got invited on Venom's tour bus to get drunk with Venom. Tommy D was already quite drunk and had to pee when he got on the bus, and so he shouted, "Where's the bathroom?" Now, Venom singer Conrad Lance, who would like you to call him Kronos, go ahead and give him a Google image search. It is worth it. Kronos said, "Piss here, right in my mouth." So Tommy G attempted to piss in his mouth. Kronos chickened out, didn't want to get that hot piss in his mouth. So Tommy D ended up pissing all in his hair. Kronos got angry because of the piss in his hair, punched Tommy D in the face. Tommy D had to do the rest of the tour with a black eye. According to Wikipedia, Tommy D, will not discuss the incident other than saying he was drunk and it was a very disrespectful thing to do.
Wait, which part was disrespectful?
I don't know. I assume the pissing, but I like to believe he thinks that the punching was disrespectful after he was invited to, piss in his mouth.
Yeah, boy, talk about writing a check you cannot cash.
Yeah.
Damn.
Here's the thing. We should know about Conrad Kronos Lant. Doesn't follow through on things. Kind of a coward.
Also, hates drinking piss.
Well,
I assume.
We don't know. Maybe he just got a little stage fright.
Yeah,
He's in front of a lot of other boys. Garrett's spooky Snopple fun fact number 309. Tom Araya, a.k.a. Tommy D, suffers from sleep apnea and has to take a CPAP machine with him on tour.
There's no room for that in the Camaro.
These are not healthy men.
Oh, God, no. know, as we'll see. Tim, listeners, write in, hatePodMail@gmail.com. Do any of you still see mid-90s to early aughts Camaros anywhere? Because I don't.
I love that like 98 to 99 Camaro, the really shitty. Yeah. The one that was a Chevy equivalent of the terrible Mustang I had.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And they made a bunch of 6-cylinder versions for some reason, even though it weighed twice as much as your car.
Yeah.
I forgot about your Mustang. God, I missed that car.
Yeah. Dragon Slayer then got a record contract with Def Jam Records based on the strength of Hell Awaits, and Rick Rubin produced a much faster, more punkish album, Rain in Blood. Columbia refused to distribute the album due to one of the songs being Angel of Death about Joseph Mengele. That was not entirely anti-Joseph Mengele, but Geffen released it in 86. Now, J.J. Hanneman's Angel of Death led to accusations of Dragon Slayer being Nazi sympathizers, which of course they denied. J.J. said, "I know why people misinterpret it. It's because they get this knee-jerk reaction to it. When they read the lyrics, there's nothing I put in the lyrics that necessarily says Joseph Mengele was a bad man, because to me, well, isn't that obvious? I shouldn't have to tell you that." Now, the band then repeatedly had to say that they are not Nazis and don't condone Nazis. But here's my problem. If you do a thing that in any way you have to then say, no, I wasn't condoning the Nazis. Maybe you weren't condoning them, but it's a problem. Like, be more clear.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
Also, and this is just me, and I'm not a sentimental guy, so maybe I'm not the person to speak to this, but if you're going to have ambiguous statements about Nazism, perhaps do not also collect Nazi memorabilia.
Yes.
It's just going to make the argument harder.
Yeah. He did bond with Lemmy from Motorhead. Apparently that guy loved Nazi memorabilia as well. But yeah. It's weird. It's a weird thing to be
For some reason,
into.
we're less surprised.
Yeah. Dragon Slayer did the Rain and Pain tour with Overkill and Malice in the US and Europe. Drummer Davey Lombo quit after a month. He said, "I wasn't making any money. I figured if we're going to be doing this professionally on a major label, I want my rent and utilities paid." But his wife made him come back to the bands because, they got Rick Rubin now. And Rick Rubin made them do a cover of Inagata Devita for the Less Than Zero soundtrack. The band hated it, but this was their first kind of major airplay.
Oh my God. Weird.
Yeah. In 1988, they released South of Heaven. Rolling Stone called it genuinely offensive satanic drivel, and they toured with Judas Priest, Motorhead, and Overkill. They released Seasons in the Abyss in 1990, made their first music video at the Pyramids in Giza, and toured Europe with tickets going for as much as $680 each in Germany. Obviously, black market tickets. Germans love piss music and Nazi memorabilia. Nope.
They really do. Well, hold on.
They don't being remembered. They are more willing to believe you when you say you are anti-Nazis than most people. Alice in Chains opened for them during this period as well.
Ugh, that's like, I understand on paper how they ended up on the same tour, but there had to have been so many people that were not happy.
Yeah, I mean, Alice in Chains, you could argue, is a heavy metal band more so than a grunge band, but it's very different. It's sludgy.
There's a lot of harmonizing.
It's the vocals are better.
Oh, they're so much better. I should ask the question, Tim. You're our resident German expert, our Jexpert. What is the deal with Germans and heavy metal?
I don't know. I really don't. I think, because it's all Northern Europe, right? Because you have like the Norwegian and the Danish black metal, which is sort of what I was thinking this is, and I was a little disappointed because could have gone harder, Slayer.
Weirdly, they could have. We'll get to that. But yeah, I watched a thing on Metallica with James Hetfield being like, oh yeah, like the craziest, we're Metallica, and the craziest thing we ever did was performing in front of like 500,000 people in,
Oh
Berlin.
yeah, but it's everywhere that's not the US, right? Brazil and Japan have the same thing, but it's not just metal. Like if you go to Brazil, NoFX is a huge band there. Like it's
no shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that, you hear, it's a shitty punk band or it's a, third tier metal act, and you go to like Brazil or, Japan or a lot of like European countries, and they're just like, yeah, it's the biggest thing here.
We love Monster Magnet, huh?
Absolutely. They're 100% one of those bands.
God, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I would love to think there's somewhere on this planet today where third wave ska is red hot.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, probably like Peru, because they love that like Peruvian flute music. So it's an extension of that.
I was going to say it just couldn't get worse. God, I hate Peruvian pan flutes.
Yeah. Danny Lombo left again. He started a different band. Dragon Slayer released Divine Intervention in 1994, featuring songs about Jeffrey Dahmer and Reinhard Heydrich, notable Holocauster. They did the Monsters of Rock tour in the early 90s with Metallica. They released Undisputed Attitude in 1996. That was a bunch of punk covers. And then in 1996, Garrett, Elise Pollar's parents sued the band for encouraging their daughter's murders through their lyrics, claiming none of the vicious crimes committed against Elise Marie Poller would have occurred without the intentional marketing strategy of the death metal band Dragon Slayer. Now, Elise, of course, was the 15-year-old who was murdered in 1995 by three guys who lured her from her house with the stated intention of killing her as part of a satanic ritual. They were doing it, of course, to sacrifice to the devil to give their heavy metal bands called Hatred the, and I'm quoting here, craziness to go professional, whatever the fuck that means.
What does that mean?
I don't know. But
so did she know she was going to be sacrificed?
I don't think so, because, but David and Lizanne Poller claimed that Dragon Slayer songs Postmortem and Dead Skin Mask gave the three killers detailed instructions to stalk, rape, torture, murder, and commit acts of necrophilia on their daughter. The case was dismissed in 2001, citing principles of free speech, lack of duty, and lack of foreseeability, all principles this podcast leans on every day. That judge said, and I'm quoting here, "There's not a legal position that could be taken that would make Dragon Slayer responsible for the girl's death. Where do you draw the line? You might as well start looking through the library at every book on the shelf." A second lawsuit was also dismissed by Judge Jeff Burke, who said, "I do not consider Dragon Slayer's music obscene, indecent, or harmful to minors because he, and this is true, huge Dragon Slayer fan."
Because he, and this is official, fucking rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. They released Diabolus in Musica in 1998, and people really got pissed off with their nu metal tendencies. They made that song for the Spawn soundtrack with Atari Teenage Riot. Remember when we did that Spawn soundtrack?
Yeah, but wasn't it like a remix?
Yeah. It's with every band was paired with a like DJ or something.
With a late 90s, early aughts music ruiner.
Yes.
Everybody gets a Moby.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone... Ugh. Anyway, Garrett, on September 11th, 2001, Dragon Slayer released the prophetic God Hates Us All, an album that you know about because you refused to let us record an episode on this year for our annual September 11th Remembrance episode. Now, also that year, Garrett, Raining Blood was covered by Tori Amos on Strange Little Girls, and the band really liked it and sent her a bunch of t-shirts.
Okay.
Yeah. They went through a couple more drummers. They toured with Metallica and Slipknot. They released Christ Illusion in August 2006. It was originally going to be released on June 6th, 2006, aka 666 Day, but it was delayed because they didn't want to be one of those, and I'm quoting here, half-ass stupid fucking loser bands that released records on June 6th. Now, according to USA Today, they missed 666 Day because they couldn't secure enough studio time and made up all that stuff afterward. There was some controversy here as well with the song Jihad, which portrays the imagined viewpoint of a September 11th terrorist and ends with spoken lyrics quoting Muhammad Atta. According to Wikipedia, Muhammad Atta is in fact a credited songwriter on the track.
How do you think they work those royalties out?
I assume they gave it to his family. Or possibly...
I was really going to hope you're saying the 9/11 Survivors Fund.
Maybe they donated it to Al-Qaeda.
Yikes. Moving right along.
They toured with Marilyn Manson, aka Hugh. They got songs on the Saw 3 soundtrack, directed by that guy that directed Repo, the genetic opera. Then Dragon Slayer released World Painted Blood in 2009 and toured again with the usual suspects. Then in 2011, JJ Haney got a pretty spooky case of necrotizing fasciitis from a pretty spooky spider bite, or at least that's what the band told everyone. It's possible he's just filthy. So the band had to play without him, given the open wounds and skin grafts and such, and then subsequent depression. But he would die in 2013 of the relatively non-spooky liver failure caused by alcohol-related cirrhosis. Unfortunate for him. The band released Repentless on September 11th, 2015, because these guys love 9/11 and have more than a passing interest in serial killers and Nazis. They did a worldwide farewell tour from 2018 to 2019, and that's pretty much it. As far as I can tell, none of these guys married any ex-hookers for Christ, and I'm gonna just say this, that's a little less metal than Stryper. Le face.
And a use of Islam to you.
I'm sorry, what?
Use of Islam.
Excellent.
Excuse me, Cat Stevens. Trying out some new ones. God, if this is the first time listening, so confusing. Great history, Tim. Way to keep it moving. What a weird band.
Yeah, they love 9/11 and Nazis and serial killers and stuff.
So that brings us right into general thoughts. And the very first question I have is what they're doing here akin to being a horror movie or novelist writer?
I mean, yes, I think so. To me, the lyrics here, it feels like kind of self-parody, right? This feels like the Scrody McBoogerballs concept applied to like Satan or whatever, instead of just trying to be gross. This is Hot Topic kids that each tried to like out-evil each other, trying to be edgy while wearing black clothes and sitting in a brightly lit mall. And
in Southern California,
right,
no
yes.
less.
Well, so here's the thing. As we read these lyrics and as we go through these songs, it's very funny to me. Just picture all of these lyrics being written on a beach in California with a beautiful sunset behind them. It's delightful.
Full black jeans, black t-shirt, flannel shirt, sitting on the beach, like grabs his board, goes surfing in his dark clothing, comes back, hits the beach, keeps writing about existing on Damnation's Edge or whatever.
Oh yeah, like picture these guys. So they drive over to Huntington Beach, they roll their pant leg up, they walk in the surf by the pier, maybe get a hot dog, they watch the sunset, write "Crucify your so-called Lord, he shall soon fall to me." Maybe play a little frisbee with the Dogies, watch the windsurfers. Then one of them, rushes over to the band's collective notebook because watching one of the surfers wipe out gave him, an idea.
Agreed.
So he scrolls, "Jesus knows your soul cannot be saved." It's delightful. This is stupid.
Which
this
is,
stupid music.
It's kind of dumb. It's kind of dumb, guys. All right, let me tell you why I don't hate it, why I actually borderline like it. As I mentioned, I was a Metallica kid for sure. The classics pretty much checked out at Load versus Load, aka Reload. Unclear what the difference is. I guess technically I owned Reload as well. I remember the disappointed look on my father's face. But
because of the jizz music.
Yeah. God damn it, Benny, he's got more jizz music. Kids listening to albums about loads. What does that even mean? Anyway, no. And so there's a lot of similarities here, but I will congratulate myself. Early 90s Garrett seemed to make a quality decision that early 2020 Garrett agrees with. Like, Slayer is just a lesser Metallica in every way.
Yeah, so this in particular, because this, they really
This
needed
is
a
an
better
early effort.
Yeah, they really needed a better producer, right? Because they're all good at their instruments. They're not doing anything spectacular for the most part, but it's
not bad.
Sure, none of it is bad. It's a little bit more punkish than I was expecting. I guess it's more the thrash metal part of this, but parts of it felt like early 90s Pennywise to me, which is not what you want. But
No.
they get that bass drum and it just had that like self-titled Pennywise album feel to it. It's not particularly heavy though. This is not what I was expecting. I had this image in my head of Slayer as the equivalent of Norwegian black metal, and it lacked
Not
that.
even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. I found it overall very listenable for the most part.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing. They really needed a better producer. Somebody that knew how to work a soundboard and knew how to mix this, because that,
yeah, it sounds super hollow. You can tell the mix is basically non-existent.
Yeah, they actually considered it. Tom Araya said that at some point they considered going back in and redoing it, but why ruin it?
Well, you mean make it way better.
Yeah. I mean, I had to have the lyrics written out in front of me for pretty much every bit of this because it's atonally shouted and growled incomprehensibly for the most part. Parts of it sounded like that band Timmy and the Lords of the Underworld from South Park.
Yes.
They may as well be Tasmanian deviling. It's a lot of blah, 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 Timmy.
I can understand it, but it's said so quickly, and this is the meanest thing I'll probably say about this entire band the whole day. The singing is just not very good.
Yeah, it's real bad. They needed, again, for what it is, I understand why they went in this direction, but you could have done this vocal performance with a Rick Rubin and gotten something out of it that you would not have said the singing is real bad on, at the very least,
I mean, even if you had recorded the exact same versions of the lyrics that we hear on this album, just a sound engineer in the room to be like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of hollow, let's double track it, and then maybe we'll have somebody do a harmony in the background, even if it's you, just in a different key. Just that alone, you're like, oh, suddenly this feels like a real album. But they lacked that, and I can forgive it, but it's a real detriment to the album overall, because this is a situation where this band band desperately needed somebody to make this guy sound better at singing than he was.
Yeah. And
add to that, what he's singing is dumb.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, musically, I think they're all good. The problem for me is that it is so incredibly self-indulgent in that 80s metal kind of way. Like, each guitarist on every song gets at least one solo. Every song.
At least.
And using statistics from Genius Lyrics, so take this with a grain of salt, over these 7 songs, K-Ray King has 11 guitar solos. J.J. Hanneman has 10. That is 21 total guitar solos. That is an average of 3 guitar solos per song. That is 2 guitar solos per song too many, or, and this is going to be controversial, 1 too few.
Ooh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a thinker.
Yeah. Overall, it is a short album, right? It's 7 songs, it's 37 minutes, but these songs average like 5:20 a piece, and maybe it's because they're how fast they are. You know, speed metal going on for 6+ minutes gets tiring. A lot of these songs feel like they just go on for fucking ever.
To the point where multiple songs will just wildly change tempo and style mid-song, and you're just like, you could have just made it a different song.
Yeah. Well, Garrett, the lyrical themes must continue, you see.
Right. Yeah, because they are so incredibly diverse.
Yeah.
There's not a tremendous amount to say here. I can probably summarize what I'm thinking, and then we'll take it any direction you like, Tim. Singing, not so good. Production, we've already tackled. Musically, I really don't have a care in the world. I think they are all proficient at their instruments, and I have a certain nostalgia for this style of music. But to your point, every one of these songs is, I mean, at least a minute, if not upwards of 3 minutes. Too long.
Yeah. You could, I mean, honestly, granted, I like that there's only 7 songs on here, but you could have had a 10, 11 song album made from, even you wouldn't even have to like add anything. Just creatively edit these into more than one song.
Yeah, it really wouldn't have been that hard. But there really wasn't a staff on board for this. It was kind of like, hey, I think this is an album. Great, let's release it. I don't know. More guitar solos? Fantastic.
Let's get a silly cover painting.
Yeah. Well, oh, right. The cover. What's going on there?
It's much more similar to Stryper than I would have thought.
It's too similar.
It's a little bit more beast-centric and less like homoerotic, certainly.
Sure.
But it's the same concept, right? Hell is real, and there's monsters there, and maybe they're going to get out a little bit. Maybe they won't. We'll have to just wait and see.
Yep, 7 songs to get there. Yeah, no, it's a bunch of demons wrestling angels or possibly people, pulling them down into hell-ish.
Yeah. Shirtless men with muscly angel wings. But we did touch on this, right? It's at least Christian music adjacent, because...
Well, it relies on the tenets of Christianity in order for them to sing about hell.
Sure, yeah, if we take this at face value, which you shouldn't, because they're, just doing a thing, but if you do, that means that they believe in basically all that Bible stuff. Hell, demons, etc. They have a slightly different opinion on the virtues of various demon monsters than your average Stryper would. But they believe the same thing. They're just maybe on a different team.
Yeah, they just came to a slightly different conclusion.
Yeah. But even then, it's not even, it doesn't even seem to be pro-demon. They seem to be warning you that demons are going to get you. So it almost could be like what Insane Clown Posse hilariously claimed at one point to be, of just like, this is a warning of like, if you don't stop, demons are going to get you.
I forgot about that. Also a Christian band.
Yeah.
Anything else need to be said?
No.
Track number 1, Hell Awaits.
We begin with demons chanting "Join us" backward like some sort of Simpsons Navy recruitment ad.
Yeah, join us in reverse, literally 30 times in a row, that slowly gets louder as guitar noise joins the mix.
This opening, again, not that different from Stryper.
Yeah, weirdly not that different from Stryper. Arguably more irritating.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we get a whole bunch of join us's, then a welcome back. Because, demons are part of this album. And then there's a 2-minute instrumental right up top.
Mm-hmm. I think it's about 3 minutes, maybe even 3.5 before we actually get to any sort of singing.
Yeah.
And I characterize this, Tim, as an angry, sped-up Bob Dylan.
Interesting. Existing on damnation's edge, the priest has never known. come to witness such a violent show of power overthrow. Yeah, you know what? I'd like to hear a Dylan cover of this.
Angels fighting aimlessly, still dying by the sword. Our legions killing
Jesus.
all in sight to get the one called Lord.
Honestly,
it kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Garrett, there's a battle between heaven and hell. Demons are murdering angels in a race to get to that Lord so they can kill him, presumably so they can write a SEAL Team 6S book about it.
What a fucking weird thing to say. Just quite frankly, the idea that demons sneak into hell, sneak into heaven, murder Jesus, and then write a tell-all
Well, yeah.
about it.
For their fellow demons, because of course they'd want to brag about it.
And then because, that's just how things go, the first helicopter crashed.
Yeah. We blew it up, though, so that heaven didn't get our hell technology. Yeah.
We can't have them figuring out how we power this whole place on souls.
Oh, yeah. Demon John Kerry went back and negotiated for the tail of the thing.
Weirdly, that negotiation also took place in Abbottabad. Anyway, regional jokes, no. Anyway, so yeah, are demons flooding up from hell in order to invade heaven? Is that the thing?
I believe so. That seems like what it is, yeah.
And what is damnation's edge? Existing on damnation's edge, are heaven and hell just like tip to tip?
I think it's like, if they win, they will not be damned because they will be kings of heaven. And if they lose, they'll be, thrown back to hell. So they're kind of right on that edge. They don't know how it's going to play out.
Okay, I'll take that. This, folks, to be clear, most of this is pretty difficult to translate. So, we're going to do our best. The gates of hell lie waiting, as you see. There's no price to pay. Just follow me. I can take your lost soul from the grave. Jesus knows your soul cannot be saved. Who is this chorus to? Dead people?
I think it's recruiting.
But is it recruiting dead people? Because I can take your lost soul from the grave. Or are they recruiting live people, but just saying like, hey, sign on the dotted line, and when you die, I'll come to your grave, resurrect your soul, and take it to hell.
In my mind, they're at the mall, right? So they've got the right next to the Navy recruitment center. They've got this thing. So listen. We can pay for your college, right? And you don't even have to do anything in this world. You sign on this line. Once you're dead, you join the army of hell, and we'll go overthrow heaven.
We do a lot of cool stuff. Do you like Call of Duty? It's really a lot like that. We work with a lot of great technology, and the ladies love it when you get the shore leave on Earth from hell. Sure, there's a lot of torture and fire and brimstone. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard work, but you look like tough boys. I also have written down Navy recruiter. But a demon. Yeah. It could be Satan. I'm not sure how busy his day is, how hands-on he gets. Recruiting for Hell's army to take over heaven.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to get too South Park about this, but I assume that, there's a Navy one, there's an Army one, there's an Air Force one, there's a Army of Hell one, and then right next to that one, you've got the Angels one, and they're not doing so good, because they are not metal.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, angels don't sin. I'm out.
Well, sure, but maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just a bunch of creepy priests, like a guy with like pretty severe eczema.
Even if they're completely normal, we just don't trust priests anymore.
And you shouldn't.
No, rightly
Especially
so.
not you, raised originally an Irish Catholic boy.
Yeah, for, I don't know, like 8 years. Anyway.
Until a thing happened and you went Methodist.
To be clear, that thing is, I wanted to date Amanda and she was Methodist, so I switched churches. It worked. We dated. I mean, whatever the fuck 6th grade dating
We should
is.
probably bleep that last name.
Yeah, either way, I don't give a fuck. Anyway, one other alternative is, what if they're already dead and this demon is recruiting souls that are trapped in limbo? Which would make a lot more sense. I can take your lost soul from the grave because Jesus knows your soul cannot be saved. But then that leaves me with a different question. Maybe what gets you stuck in limbo?
Oh, almost everything. I think everyone pretty much ends up there, at least according to Catholic tradition.
It is sort of like a days served situation. Like you can earn your way to heaven, but depending on how many sins you got racked up in the gas tank, you might have to spend some time in limbo.
Yeah, or maybe you want to take a shortcut and go help overthrow heaven with Satan.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got the guys like, hey, you bored? Well, yeah, just sitting here in limbo all day. You want to get into heaven faster?
You want to kill an angel?
You know those creepy winged things with eyes all over their body? I can kill them.
What? I don't want to fight one of them.
Hard to sneak up on, that's for goddamn sure. All right, let's keep going. Crucify your so-called Lord. He soon shall fall to me. Your souls are damned. Your God has fell to slave for me eternally. What happens if Jesus goes to hell? Does he still have his powers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. Different question. Is the resurrection a one-time thing?
No, he can do that anytime he wants.
Let me finish my question. Can I expect a Christ to be re-risen if he gets re-crucified?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Here's the problem, though, with Christ. If he were to go down and, like, try and fight Satan in hell, his powers are pretty much restricted to the ones you saw in the Bible. The loaves, the fishes, the water into wine. So he doesn't really have that many tricks up his sleeve. Like, it could be one of those situations where, you know, he's got his hands up, they're searching him, he doesn't have anything on it, and all of a sudden he pops a couple of fishes out and uses them as nunchucks, but that's
exactly
much
what
it.
I'm picturing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm laughing. Because you just gotta make lemonade out of those lemons. Like, fucking suffocate a room full of demons in loaves and fishes.
Oh, I
just,
like that.
Fill it. He's just like, oh, and he can, like, part stuff. I don't know if it's just seed. I guess that was Moses.
Oh, you know what would be great? If he's in this room and he's just beating the shit out of guys he's holding fish by their tails and he's just beating the shit out of a whole room full of demons. It's basically like that scene in The Matrix. Mm-hmm. Any of the scenes in The Matrix, really. And then
with the fish.
Yes. And then he tosses the fish aside, but there's one last guy. And it's like that scene in Indiana Jones where he doesn't want to sword fight the guy, so he just shoots him. He's exhausted from beating the shit out of all these demons, but there's one last guy, and Garrett, it's a big one. And so he knows, Garrett, just like us, demons' bodies are approximately 70% water. So he uses his Jesus powers to part that water and just tears this man in half. Well, not man, tears this demon in half.
Okay, that's awesome, but a couple problems. One, I think that was Moses.
Well, sure, but he was powered by Jesus or God.
Interesting. Love that. Fantastic.
The Holy Spirit, I should say.
Here's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say he turned all of the water in the demon's body into wine.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah, of course he could do that.
Dies of alcohol poisoning and all the other horrible things that would happen if your blood was suddenly 30%
I assume,
wine.
it'd probably be a lot of like absent hydrogen bonding or something less interesting.
Something weird.
Yeah.
Something weird. I mean, ultimately he's just going to fall over dead. But
I assume you might actually just fall apart. Because I assume that a fair amount, and I don't know this, but a fair amount of your body's like biomechanics, I assume, is related to the properties of water. You might just dissolve. Interesting.
Okay, that's fucking rad. And then Satan's like sitting on his fucking throne of skulls and he's like, what the fuck did you do? Water into wine, bitch. Holy shit. And then Slayer starts playing.
Yeah. Maybe Jesus like flips his hair back a little bit.
Yeah. I'm picturing Nicolas Cage from Con Air. He has that hair.
I agree. But here's the thing. I think that we have a dueling soundtrack, right? We've got Slayer, we've got Stryper, and depending on who's winning in this battle, you can tell at all times because the soundtrack morphs from one to the other.
Sure. You're getting dangerously close to Repo, a genetic opera.
I would argue that this is a much better musical, but yeah, I'm in.
No, for sure. No, we've written something beautiful here. Hollywood. hatePodMail@gmail.com. Title your email, but just $signs, because that's
Title
what
it Hollywood.
Yeah, well, then we'll know.
Also, to people that are not representing Hollywood, please do not send us emails titled Hollywood, or we're going to be very disappointed.
Tremendously confusing. Big waste of time for us. Don't know why you would do that. Anyway, the Reaper guards the darkened gates that Satan calls his home. The demons feed the furnace where the dead are free to roam. Does hell run on souls?
I think everything does. I think so. It's
everything.
Did you ever see that movie, the one about the train in the post-apocalyptic wasteland?
Yes.
Train, I think it was called. Bullet Train. Anyway.
Cold Train.
Cold Train. It was named after the jazzist.
The jazz musician.
Right, yes. So I assume that it's kind of like that, right? So we exist, there's three realms. Obviously, heaven is the top. That's like the front of the train, where it's all the fancy rich people. Mm-hmm. Then you've got the middle cars. We're just fighting for our existence. And then you've got the back of the train, the hell. And that's where, there's people shoveling coal into this furnace and it's powering these other two worlds.
I see. Oh, wow. Fascinating. You have like just a universe of strange in you that we've never even addressed. That's fascinating. The fact that you're mixing so many odd metaphors, and some of which, I want to be clear, I don't think you're meaning to be metaphors. I think you're being literal. But so that we don't all lose our minds, I'm going to assume you're being figurative in your language. It's a great analogy. I completely agree. Also, never heard heaven, hell, and earth be referred to as the realms.
The three realms, yes.
The three realms. Is that a Tim original, or did you take that from somewhere else?
It's hard to know anymore.
I feel like you've maybe been like looking at too much Geiger art lately or something. It's maybe no more Tolkien for you. The three realms, it's very strange. It's interesting. Maybe there's something there. But I've just never heard you speak like this. Pray to the moon when it is round. Death with you shall then abound. For what you seek, for can't be found. Too many fours. In sea or sky or underground. Big change here. Suddenly I feel like he's trying to summon a werewolf. I think they're saying evil, but I got werewolf.
Yeah, I think they're saying, it's like paganism or something, because they're just mixing their metaphors as well.
Right. To less comedic effect.
Again, but this song is long enough. You don't have to have this werewolf or pagan stuff in it. You could just keep it to the world between heaven and hell.
Yeah, you've already set the premise. We're good to go. But they keep it going. They say, now I have you deep inside my everlasting grasp. The 7 bloody gates of hell is where you'll live your last. Is it sort of like a gotcha situation? It's all smoke and mirrors like a naval recruiter's office?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. They promise you, Garrett, that you're going to be on SEAL Team 6 when you sign that up, but you're just going to be a midshipman. And it's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's an honorable profession, but it's just not what you signed up for. And that one guy set a fire on a frigate or possibly an aircraft carrier that cost like $1 billion worth of damage because he was sad that he had to be on a ship.
When was that?
It was 5 or 6 years ago. He was sad that he had to be on a ship after he joined the Navy because he's a moron who overestimated his own abilities.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we get a chorus and a post-chorus that we have already read and a third guitar solo for the song, and that's going to wrap us. Anything else on your end?
Nope.
Track number 2, Kill Again. Straight into the metal on this one. I'm into it. Despite the content, I like the music on this song.
Sure. Yeah, it's fine. This is kind
of early drum rolls, gets me super hyped.
Yeah,
into it.
This is a little bit what I was expecting. Again, it's a little bit less heavy and a little bit faster than I was thinking it was going to be, but this is fine. It's about a serial killer / rapist, I guess. It seems to be from the perspective of this person, but it doesn't really give any perspective. It somehow makes Dexter look like genuinely deep and insightful. Because it's all setting and mood and atmosphere, but there's no like story or character. It's just like this is the opening 2 minutes of a werewolf movie or something. Like that's really all that they seem to know how to do.
Yeah, it's the loosest of outlines of what a song might be.
Yeah.
But there's no narrative.
This band would be a lot better, maybe not on this song in particular, but if they were bigger fans of country music and kind of got that story song tradition, a lot of these would be better. Again, maybe not this one, but a lot of them.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's see what we got. They say, lurking in the dismal fog, hungry for your blood, seeking harmless victims, satisfy my needs. Schizophrenic lunatic, uncontrolled desire, rape and ravaged lady fair, pledged to die.
It gets a little Renaissance fair at the end there.
Yeah, and some of that might be the English I'm putting on it. It's, there's a murderer out there and they're ready to kill. I don't love that they're also a rapist. It just changes the tone of the song for me.
Yeah. Like you're the kind of person who could like, let's say, go to Canada for a week and just like do we'll say this. You don't seem to have any problem slashing, but have some decorum.
With slashers. I have no problem with somebody writing a song about slashing.
Sure. Yes. Or going to Canada and doing some slashing. If, let's say, somebody...
That's not what I was doing in Canada. I was having a lovely time. I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
You did do that.
No one's proving I was there.
Yep. Notably, there were some people slashed that day at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Probably a coincidence.
I was in the Tim Hortons at the time. Actively not slashing.
That's fair. No apparent motive, kill and kill again, survive my brutal thrashing, I'll hunt you till the end. My life's a constant battle, the rage of many men, homicidal maniac. And this kind of struck home, Garrett, because... And
I bet it did.
I don't want you to take offense to this. I mean this genuinely, and I mean this in a semi-nice way. I believe that you have the rage of many men. And,
okay, I do.
Compliment for you, you keep it in check like 85% of the time.
Thank you.
And it must be difficult.
Not enough people appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, the 15% is scary, but it's 15%. Anyone can survive 15%.
I mean, not those people that are around me for that 15%.
No, they
will not be surviving.
Slashed and It's funny because the chorus here, he's this like brutal killer. He's out stalking around. He's going to be murdering people. But he seems to like have up front this like, listen, a lot of you are going to get away, right? Like survive my brutal thrashing. I'll hunt you to the end. Like a lot of them have gotten away. I am not actually that good at this. You know, my life's a constant battle.
It was less of a competent killer like in real life where they can just do it for years and years and years. But more of a movie situation. Like this could be a song from the perspective of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
No apparent motive, kill and kill again, survive my brutal thrashing, I'll hunt you till the end. Laurie Strode can't seem to get away from this son of a bitch.
Yeah, and he
has the rage of many men. Homicidal maniac. Let's keep reading, see how it lines up. Trapped in mortal solitude, lift the gleaming blade, slice her flesh to shreds, watch the blood flow free. Hatred growing stronger, none survive my wrath, suffer from the throbbing pain, yield your life to me.
I mean, some seem to survive, most even.
Well, he said none survive.
Yeah, but in the verse before, he said, survive my brutal thrashing, I'll hunt you till the end.
Yeah, if you were to survive, I will hunt you relentlessly until you don't.
Okay, I don't believe him.
Have you ever seen It Follows?
I have.
Yeah, so at best you're dealing with that. I was recently discussing the best strategy for an It Follows situation. For those of you who haven't seen it, this really doesn't ruin the movie. It's kind of set up in the first 8 minutes. What if something was coming to kill you? It moved at the speed of, I don't know, let's call it a mile an hour, but it's coming, always coming. So what do? And if you have sex with somebody, it'll go after them, but it'll then kill them and come after you. So my plan, fly to Australia, have sex with a prostitute, have that prostitute have sex with a bunch of other people, fly back to America.
That's smart.
Because here's the really weird part, is that I assumed the It Follows monster would like walk along the bottom of the ocean, which means that's going to take fucking forever.
Yeah, I assume it would get a boat at least. Or maybe it's got a boat. It's got a USA Today and it's hanging out on a plane.
Well, that's the thing, is it could do that because no one can see it. It's like sixth cheap chick in the city. Sixth Sense rules where nobody sees it. So it could just stand in the aisle and people pass through it, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not as good of a plan, but it's still a pretty good plan.
I think what you do is you have sex with a professional basketball player, right? Because that person is going to be traveling all over the country constantly during the season. So this thing's going to be following it. That's going to take up a lot of its time. And that person, if I know that person's going to be banging quite a bit. So it's going to be constantly, every weekend, it's going to have 3-4 new victims to hunt down. Like
it's fascinating. The problem is nobody watches the WNBA. So
no, you're going to Garrett. No. You've misunderstood. You're going to have to really just make love to a man.
That's
to save
awful.
Your life? I mean, here's the thing.
I mean, I don't want to be...
This is a very large professional basketball playing, man. It is going to be unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. From my perspective, just the addition of a man to the mix is almost a non-starter, but you've added to it that he's known for his size. That's not great.
Well, no. But again, like, I don't know that female basketball players are crisscrossing the country having sex with their fans.
No, I can assume they're not.
Right. You're going to have sex with a man.
Well, okay, listen, if we're doing that, and listen,
and you're going to, it's better, because Jesus Christ, I can't carry this podcast on my own.
That's for sure. I mean, just logistically, I'm fairly certain you have no idea how this works.
I don't know how to upload them. I would have to email everyone or put a Instagram post with a Dropbox link on it, and I just put them up there, I guess. The Apple statistics, they're going to go right through the floor, Garrett.
Yeah, and quite honestly, they already have. It's all Spotify now. It's crazy.
Well, okay, but I also won't be able to upload it to Spotify, so that's...
No, I know. It's the same place. I love that you have literally no idea how it works. And that's how it should stay. Anyway, let's keep going. I could say that all of this could be about a werewolf as well. Everything about this completely lines up, but let's keep moving. Trapped in mortal solitude, lift the... What is he? I already read this. Yeah. I did. But what does mortal solitude mean?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Maybe
it's in mortal solitude.
Maybe it is the It Follows monster, right? Like he's not. He can't have friends. No one can see him except for his intended.
Yeah. Oh God, you with the language today. His intended. My goodness, I'm both impressed and disgusted.
Yeah, then everyone gets a guitar solo, and they start...
let's not move on just yet. His intended. You said it as though it was a synonym for betrothed.
No, it's the person he's gonna murder.
No, I get it, but I feel like those might be the same emotions for you.
Sometimes they are.
Dueling solos from Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman. And then Tim, what's going on here?
QAnon conspiracies.
Bodily dismemberment. Drink the purest blood. Unrelenting need to kill. Death upon you now. Anxiously awaiting. Next in line.
Well,
and then
right.
the chorus again.
But again, you missed the kill the preacher's only son, watch the infant die. These are people that are drinking that
Oh, God.
Yeah, we might have to bleep that. If it did get bleeped, I said a just so everyone knows. But yeah, QAnon conspiracies, man. This is, they're in line. The Democrats are in line, each waiting their little fix so they can stay young like Hillary Clinton looks, you know? People did claim this song influenced a couple of Italian murders in 2004. 2 bodies were found in a ditch in a forest near Somma Lombardo. They were killed by members of a sect called Beasti di Satana, the Beasts of Satan. Now, Beasts of Satan does sound adorable in Italian, but apparently Kill Again was considered an incitement to murder some of these people, and then one of them hanged himself in a clothesline due to constant death threats he was receiving from this group, etc., etc. I don't know.
God.
But how embarrassing to have killed somebody or to have been killed by somebody based on a Slayer song. It just...
Yeah, that's tragic.
Well, not tragic, Garrett. Embarrassing. Like, it's just not interesting. You know, like...
Well, it's embarrassing for the perpetrator. It's tragic for the victim.
I think it's embarrassing for them, too. Here's the thing, Garrett. If the messaging was from something like, let's say, Casey and the Sunshine Band or Neil Young's Emperor of Wyoming, it has more of a revolution feel to it. Like, it's more... Like, the killer had to do work to get there.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, right? It's not nearly as prescriptive if you truly read the lyrics. Like, they're filling in the dots. If this went to trial, it would be very easy for a lawyer to be like, Your Honor, read the songs. They're terrible.
They sure are.
They're listenable, but I mean, if you actually go through it, folks, we've read half the album almost. It's, it's middle school level sentiments.
Yeah, it is. It's kids hanging out in Hot Topic. And speaking of
this
that,
song,
track number 3, At Dawn They Sleep.
Slightly slower, little noisier, you might even say grungier, not grunge to be clear. But what I love about this album, I mean, I'm going to spoil the shit out of it, but I'm sure we were going to anyway. Somebody in this band turned to the other guys and was like, hey guys, you know how we like scary stuff? How have we not written a vampire song yet?
See, I don't think it's about vampires.
What?
Here's the thing. You could change not a word of this song and it could be about mosquitoes. And it's far spookier if it's about mosquitoes. Garrett, mosquitoes are pretty metal. It is estimated that 108 billion humans have lived in all of history. It is estimated that 52 billion of them were killed by mosquitoes or mosquito-borne illnesses, with 700,000 to 1 million more killed every year to this very day. Humans kill less humans every year on average than humans kill about 500,000 other humans. Mosquitoes kill twice that number. Vampires only kill about 80 people. Dogs kill about 25,000. Lions kill 100. Bees kill 60. 60, jellyfish kill 40, and sharks, Garrett, allegedly kill 4, and that's statistically negligible, which is my point. Sharks are not real. Even if they were, they don't matter.
Statistically, they are not.
Yes. But I mean, again, I think that honestly, mosquitoes are clearly more metal than vampires or serial killers or Satan or even all of humanity.
Well, okay, first of all, I am so fucking impressed with you.
Oh,
today.
This is a great episode for me.
Yeah.
I'm doing good so far.
Correct. We're ruining it with every word, but that's okay. I don't care. You've got collateral to burn. First of all, yes. Yes to all of it. Second of all, what is very funny to me, you said what, close to 1 million people die every year from mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illnesses? If the exact same number of people died every year from mosquitoes, but the mosquitoes were the size of ostriches and they literally sucked you dry, like crushed your bones, turned them and just sucked them all up, just leaving a skin sleeve, we would have roving bands of mosquito murdering squads.
Oh, yeah.
But because it's just like, oh shit, I think something bit me. 3 weeks later, bleeding from the eyes. We all just kind of ignore it.
No, that's not true at all, Garrett. So much public health money is spent on prevention of these things. I feel like
I have not spent $1 of my public health money on killing mosquitoes.
Garrett, our bathroom is stocked with copies of the Journal of Tropical Diseases. Are you not reading them? What does that have
to do with this? No, I've read every one of them. What does that have to do with mosquitoes?
Okay, you know what? If you don't know, I can't answer.
They carry the diseases.
Yeah. All right.
Well, they talk about it in an abstract. They kind of just take for granted you know that.
Awakened, I have become. Light now slips away. Manipulate your mind. Darkness is my slave. Taste the sins of hell. The blood that I so crave. The last thing that you see is the hunger in my eyes. Blood-sucking creatures of the night. Nocturnal specters hiding from the light. Cries screaming out every fright. Eagerly awaiting plight. Apparitions from the pits of hell. Death plagues the street in which they dwell. Demented lust, the secrets they must keep. Addicted to your blood, at dawn they sleep. That's a mosquito.
I mean, yes, 100%. Listen, nobody's arguing with you at all. All of my notes are about vampires.
All right.
So I don't know what to do.
Well, let's get into your notes then.
I mean, listen, I love the mosquito angle. Absolutely. I'll just read you what I got. I thought this song was about the guy in the friend group that you changed last because you had a vote after everybody else got changed into vampires to be like, hey, are we going to include Doug? And like, there's like a close 3 to 4. Do we eat Doug or do we, like, we weren't even going to eat him. We were literally just going to rip him limb from limb because we hate him. And then like just somebody was like, no, come on guys. He doesn't have any friends. You're like, fine. And so you transform and he's like, awakened, I have become. Like, this is why we weren't going to do it. Like, we are all being super chill about this, dude. Darkness is my slave. Taste the sins of hell. Buddy, it's no different than yesterday. We drink blood now. Just relax. Let's see.
I love it. I really like that. Yeah. He's just super into it. He's the one, he was a Hot Topic kid in his youth and now he's an accountant and he's hidden that. But once he gets a taste of the vampire life, he just jumps headlong into it.
Yeah, like everybody else is a normal fucking adult and they're like, Jesus, this is weird. I got super strength, can't go out during the day and I drink blood now. That's fucking nuts. Fucking Doug is just like, oh, let me get my cloak.
Yes,
like,
he already had all the accoutrement.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Let's merge these two things. Is it possible...
Mosquito.
No, God, no. More mosquito than man. No. Is it possible for somebody to be... Like, do mosquitoes bite vampires? And if so, if they then bite you instead of giving you malaria, could they give you vampirism?
And if so, would you even know the difference?
What do you mean?
Well, okay, that doesn't answer your question. I apologize. I was asking a slightly different question. Would the mosquito know that it was a...
Oh, the mosquito's not a vampire.
Why not, though?
Well, because they already are kind of vampires. It's not
that doesn't matter.
It's not any different. It's just transporting the vampirism in its snoot or whatever.
Yeah, he's just a
proboscis.
A carafe.
Yes.
Of vampire blood. So, yes.
But that would just suck because again, the mosquito doesn't have to like it. So mosquito bites you. You're completely unaware now that you can't go out during the day. So you're just gonna catch fire.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you're gonna be really sick for a few days, as I understand it.
Well, sure, but you just might think you had malaria.
What are your symptoms? Nauseous. Do not want to eat anything at all. Really weird coppery taste in the back of my mouth. Yesterday, I went out to get the mail, burst into flames. Sounds like malaria. That was what I thought. Let's keep going. Apparitions from the pits of hell. Death plagues the streets in which they dwell. Demented lust, the secrets they must keep. Addicted to your blood. At dawn they sleep. Pretty clearly about mosquitoes. Let's pretend for a minute it's vampires. Tim, where do you come down on vampire transformations?
I don't know what you mean by that.
I figured. So, like, the only modern reference I can think of off the top of my head would be Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never really watched it, but I definitely saw a shit ton of commercials for it. And they looked like they had, like, I don't know what to call it, like a demon face.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think you just transform the once. Like, I don't.
See, I think that they would go back and forth.
No, see, you're thinking
I've
this
never
is
seen the show.
This is mixing werewolf and vampire lore. Once you turn into a vampire, I don't think you're like going back and forth. I think there are demons in that show.
God, I don't know. Yeah, I don't either.
How could you know?
I don't know. Listeners, write in hatePodMail@gmail.com. Tim and I have never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. I've seen the movie, obviously. In the TV show, it seemed like the vampires had like demon face, for lack of a better word. Were they just walking around with that all the time? Or did they look normal and then switch to demon face when it was like vampire time? I think they did that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a true representation of what vampires are like in real life.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, here's a different version. So I read a book, technically a series of books, called like World War V, I think, but it could be like Coltrane for all I know. I think it's called World War V, and it was about people turning into vampires, but the difference was based on your genetics. Basically, the quote-unquote junk DNA, aka the parts that we don't know what the fuck they do, would dictate what type of vampire you were. So some would be like classic OG vampire, exactly what you're picturing, but others would like turn into giant green hairy monsters, and others would turn into like weird wispy people that would suck your essence. I like that version of a transforming vampire.
Yeah.
Like your genetics dictate like what your weird
Yeah, it's like
is.
like a predator, you know, they depend, or no, alien, depending on what they like shoot their egg into, it like mixes with the genetics, you know?
Yes.
So like you get the pred alien and, you know?
No, not pred. Oh yeah, I guess you do. I never saw those. Are you talking about AVP? What a terrible conversation. All right. Unveil the coffin lid. Lift the lid of terror. And I'm going to pause it right there. I want to talk about vampire coffins.
Done.
Someone's coming to kill a vampire. Why would they stay in a coffin? Do they need to be in a coffin? My research says they do not have to stay in a coffin. It's a preference because they know it's completely sealed off from the light. And most people just assume dead people are in coffins, and it's really hard to lift those lids.
It's actually not hard to lift the lid at all. That's a fallacy. So yes, you're correct. They don't have to. They stay in there because it's protection from the light, which is their main enemy. You know, there's many more vampires are killed from the light than from vampire hunters. But the other thing it's great camouflage because most people don't want to see a spooky dead guy.
Sure, that is true. Most people don't. Okay, good answers. Very confident answers. Not going to follow up.
I mean, what you should have is like a padlock on the inside, though.
Yes. Why would you not have at least like a chain thing like you have at hotels?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, song continues. Feel the deadly cold freeze you from inside, perceiving your intentions to slay the phantom form. Raise the stake in malice, you cannot plunge it down. Sounds like somebody who's dealing with a vampire hunter. We got a Van Helsing here?
It does. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like somebody is going around. Maybe, again, what this could be is a bunch of people in a town get malaria from all the mosquitoes, and then some jackass is just like, this looks like a clear-cut case of vampirism to me. And he's going through and staking a bunch of corpses in the heart because he's concerned. And honestly, it's probably a lot of people because you get malaria, you just assume it's vampirism, so you go sleep in a coffin to make sure you don't catch fire. So like, and all of a sudden some sort of vampire hunter is stabbing you in the chest because you got malaria and decided to sleep it off in a coffin. It's a huge problem.
Can you imagine how many people through history have been murdered for, possession, and they're just like, I have pneumonia.
Oh yeah, no, schizophrenics and epileptics have not had an easy go of it in history.
God, I just watched There Will Be Blood last week. I'm picturing like, I'm a demon slayer. This is my son, HW. You clearly have a vampire problem. I'm here to solve it. I'm going to murder everyone in your village. You will be free of these demon souls. I think it's malaria. You are one of them.
Yeah.
Different movie, I'm into it.
Yes.
Two guitar solos, bit of a tempo change, suddenly slower, little sludgier, not that into it. The bridge, Tim, I'm going to say it, it's bad.
Yes, and the second bridge might be about malaria and mosquitoes.
I think you've kind of already said every part was about malaria and mosquitoes.
Well, sure, but this is very on the nose. Driven by the instinct of centuries of horror, sounds like a mosquito to me, implanted along the brain of the sickening parasite.
They don't have brains.
What?
Mosquitoes do not have brains.
No. Well, first of all, they have a sort of a nerve bundle. Sure. No, the malaria is being implanted from the mosquito into the person. The person's got a brain.
Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Maybe the vampire is a metaphor for the historical murders of the mosquito.
Maybe all vampire stories were actually just about mosquitoes. Just a terrible game of telephone.
Yeah. Then there's an outro, a couple more goddamn guitar solos, some bass drum nonsense, maybe some more guitar solos, and we're done.
Yeah, I'll take that. Track number 4, Praise of Death. They speed things up here, thank God. And I believe this tells the story of a man facing a death sentence from a terribly rare disease.
Like malaria.
Interesting. I picked Chediak Higashi syndrome.
Do tell.
Which apparently includes partial albinism, photosensitivity, severe recurrent bacterial infections, bleeding diatheses, and late onset neurological manifestations.
This honestly sounds quite a bit like vampirism.
You're not wrong. Oh man. Photosensitivity, partial albinism, severe recurrent bacterial infections. Those guys are always covered in Band-Aids. Yeah, God. Onset neurological manifestations. Jesus. And Parkinsonism. Anyway, let's get to the song. Deceased in mind, decree of death. Blackened heart baptized in fire. Exertion now, need to blitz. Vicious ways brought up in hell. Draw the line, life or death. Potent thrust, excessive pain. Massive dose, adrenaline. Minor threat, cannot decline. What, are there words missing?
It is confusing.
It's not as though it's even rhythmic, but it just kind of sounds like, I mean, what is if you got to read on this, let me know.
I really don't. I said this doesn't seem to have a coherent theme to me. I hope Garrett has something.
Yeah, I mean, best I got is he's got a decree of death, and he's got a whole bunch of energy building up because if somebody tells you got like a very short amount of time to live, you're probably about to have a pretty serious panic attack.
Maybe this is a guy who has done. He is approaching the casket, but unfortunately he got a late start on his day, so it's already dusk, and that vampire's starting to wake up. So what he has done, right? You've got this potent thrust, massive dose, adrenaline. What he has done is he brought his secret weapon, PCP, and he is going to challenge this vampire on PCP. So it's vampire versus PCP.
Just to be clear, and I love this. Where did the vampire come from?
Oh, sorry. He's a vampire hunter. He's hunting a vampire, but he got a late start on his day, so he can't do it during the day. Maybe his girlfriend was bitching about all that PCP he's been hoarding, whatever. But by the time he gets there, that thing's already starting to wake up, and he needs a little boost so that his strength rivals that of the vampire.
Yeah, now that is a real plot twist if a vampire thinks he's fighting a normal man, and it turns out that man's on PCP.
Yeah, he's fighting some sort of Hulk. Yeah, I mean, the rest of it kind of goes with that, right? So, victim of life's insanity lives, deep in shock, intensive care, tables turned, blast of strength, kill at once, time to prevail, beginning to crank, feel the rush, start to rage, take to extremes, push too far, overkill, time to die, no way to win. This is the story of him going through this PCP rush as he fights the demon / vampire.
Fantastic. Replace demon or vampire with life-taking disease, and we're pretty much saying the same thing.
Crippling PCP addiction.
That'll take you down. That is interesting. You don't meet a lot of old PCP addicts.
That's true. Most of them succumb to the 7th or 8th gunshot wound. Now, here's the thing, Garrett, because the last verse appears to be describing NASA training, that centrifuge thing.
What?
At Mach 10 velocity, pressure builds, can't take the strain. Lifeblood flows to its grave, dripping sweat, death shall erase. Time to think, time to breathe, feel the pulse, life will expire. Surging speed, hella fast, cardiac cease to exist. I think this is a guy who mistakenly got into one of those NASA spinny things, and he is realizing about Mach 6. I've made a mistake. This is going to kill me.
I think it's either the overwhelming pressure of actually dying or the overwhelming sensation of taking a life.
Oh, I could imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. But then we get a chorus, another guitar solo. That brings us to track number 5, the unfortunately titled and themed Necrophilia.
At least it's short, Garrett. There is a genius annotation for this song to explain what it's about, if I may. Necrophilia is defined as the sexual attraction to corpses, but there are many different reasons why one would become a necrophiliac.
What?
What are these reasons? What is one additional reason, internet?
Is there... there's not a part 2?
Nope, that's it. That's what they leave you to think about. So it left me to think about anyway.
I mean, lack of options.
No, don't do that.
Listen, okay, hold on. Let me rewind. Nothing I'm going to suggest here in the next 1 minute is a good idea. We're just brainstorming potential other reasons someone would become a necrophiliac. Lost a bet.
Okay, that's a legitimate one. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim, I think that somebody who reaches the age, I mean, you said something insane the last time we talked about this, like 20. Somebody that reaches the age of 30, 35, 40, and has never had a sexual encounter with another human being might turn to necrophilia.
You know about hookers, right?
I do, yes. However, it is not impossible to imagine that somebody who goes that far into adulthood without having those early embarrassing sexual dalliances when everybody's new to the game could potentially have, we'll say, a complex or potentially some sort of mental block about going to a prostitute and admitting they didn't know how to make the sex.
For our younger listeners or for our older listeners who simply have not yet had sex, it doesn't fucking matter. You're paying anything. You can have her paint your house. You're renting her for like an hour. You can whatever, allegedly.
We may bleep some of that. That was a crass way to talk about somebody.
Well, I'm just saying, you don't have to feel bad. Like, she's there. Or
more importantly, you don't have to have sex with dead people.
There it is. Yeah. You know what? Track number 6, not this song.
Let's get into it. Mortuaries, dead of night, my body starts to rise. In my mind, the horror lives to feel death deep inside. Is he paying a security guard at a mortuary to have sex with the corpses? Of course. That is definitely happening hundreds of times across this country every single night. Do we like talking about it? No. Should you write a song about it? Probably not. But here we are. Relentless
Maybe
lust.
A news report about it.
Yes. Perhaps a police report.
Yeah.
But no. I mean, Tim, like you and I, we're of the street. We're out there mixing it up in the big city.
Don't like where this is going.
Neither of us can sit here realistically, having seen the things we have, and say that people are not paying security guards to have sex with
sure
the dead.
They
That's
are.
happening.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's all. I'm just saying, when you've lived a life, Tim's alter ego, Tim California, is well steeped in the underworld of New York. We'll just say that.
Yeah. I'm basically the subject of a Lou Reed song at this point. Not me.
Good stuff. Anyway, let's keep moving. Relentless lust of rotting flesh. To thrash the tomb she lies. Heathen whore of Satan's wrath. I spit at your demise.
I don't think it's nice to call her a whore.
Right? You're having sex with a corpse, which makes me think, did you have a crush on her before she died? Or did the lust begin?
I don't want to do this.
You know what? You know what, Tim? Good call. Let's just back on out of this. I'm going to do a quick scan. Honestly, guys, it's like 4 more verses of having sex with a dead woman. You get it.
And it's... Yeah.
And the good part is, I do think at the end of the song, he goes to hell for doing it.
But is that what he wants?
I'm not sure. The fire grows stronger within. Fate of a frenzied lust. Lucifer takes my dark soul. Down to the fiery pits of hell. Down to the fiery pits of hell.
I feel like he's doing this to please
get
the
into
devil.
heaven.
Yeah, this is like, it's like being hazed.
Check this shit out.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, too far. Honestly, you just had to do a simple sin. Jaywalking will get you there.
Yeah, that's another tip for our younger listeners. Not only is jaywalking illegal, it is actually a sin.
Mm-hmm. Track number 6, Crypts of Eternity.
Master of the blackened dust, living his decree.
I think this song is about the X-Men character Apocalypse. To be clear, the 90s cartoon version, not the Oscar Isaac fella.
That does help.
It was fun when he made that guy part of a wall.
Oh yeah, that was neat. Very disturbing. I think that this song is about a man who is attempting to conjure demons through the 7 gates of hell in order to take control of a small Pennsylvania town.
I like it.
Devious to those unknown, he walks below the land, alluring victims to their death, perish to the sand. Master of the blackened arts, living his decree, thrives amongst the 7 gates, searching for the keys. So, I did some research on the 7 gates of hell. Here's what I found. Quote, the 7 gates of hell in York County, Pennsylvania are in the spooky sounding Hellam Township. Apparently.
It says spooky sounding?
Now that I added that part. You know me well, friend. Anyway, so there's these 7 literal gates. They're just gates, like cattle gates. There's these 7 gates on this property in York County, Pennsylvania that people made up these like crazy myths about. And they claim if you walk through all 7, you'll end up in hell. And the story goes that there used to be a insane asylum that burned down. And so they made these 7 gates with 7 fences in order to keep the roaming crazy people that had just escaped in, so that they could just be feral, which obviously is not true. Then the story morphed into there was a mad doctor who was performing experiments and was obsessed with the occult, and he had built these 7 gates in order to conjure the devil. Very strange, very strange. So this song, I think, is about some guy who wants to conjure demons through the 7 gates of hell in order to take over York County, Pennsylvania.
Fascinating. Fascinating. I bet it's actually true, though.
We'll see. I have seen the darkened depths of hell, sorcery beyond the witch's
let me
spell.
stop you right there. I'm not saying I think your theory about this song is true. To be clear, I'm saying there might be a place in Pennsylvania where you could literally walk through 7 gates of hell.
Yeah, and I'm saying we will see.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm going
Continue.
to send you through those gates. I'll go through 6. You're going through 7.
Done.
Let's see. I have seen the darkened depths of hell, sorcery beyond the witch's spell, robbed the crypts of death's eternity, killed the priest, and cursed him endlessly. I'm thinking maybe he sacrificed a priest in order to power up those hell gates? I don't know.
Yeah, you probably have to have a different kind of, I assume, it starts off priest, that's number 1. Then the next one you've got to get, a bishop, then an archbishop. Eventually you got to get to pope. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes it so hard about assembling the 7 gates.
Yeah.
Not a lot of popes around.
Yeah.
Chants of evil incantation fill the murky nights. Free the devil's knights of hell. Unleash their growing spite. Yeah, he's trying to steal the devil's henchmen.
Yeah. And
the devil's knights of hell. Is that like the Knights of Ren? Do you think that's where that came from?
No, I don't think that's where it came from. No,
I think double guitar solos.
Garrett, I think it's a lucky coincidence.
Okay. Agree to disagree. I think they were probably a Dragon Slayer fan. At times, the solos seem to be almost at competition with one another. It's fine. Cringe with fear. Violate the unbroken seal of hell. Death will come searching for your mere soul. Still, you are eager to seek your fate. All that lie here are remains of death. It seems to be a warning not to go through those goddamn 7 gates of hell, and yet this dude is still like, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's a dare, right? They know that they're not supposed to. It's like saying Bloody Mary in the mirror 3 times. You just don't do it. But, maybe you're at a sleepover and you live near this field, and maybe we'll walk through these gates and sacrifice a couple people. Who knows?
Good God, that was relatable and then very much not so. We get continued descriptions of hell. I won't continue reading them. There's, of course, a guitar solo. And then it sounds like he accomplishes his goal at the end. He says, disease engulfs, covers the world, my kingdom, my domain.
I'm pretty sure that the X-Men's Apocalypse has made that exact same statement.
Yeah, no, absolutely. God, I cannot wait, Tim. X-Men 97, just around the corner.
I know, it's what, March?
Oh God, is it that soon? I was a little worried it got pushed back with the...
Oh, it might have, but I feel like it's still scheduled for spring.
Ah, that would be great. I want...
Here's what we do. We stop the podcast for a few months and just review episodes of that.
Yes. Well, we keep the podcast going. Don't change a single thing about it. It's just when people tune in, we'll only be talking about X-Men 97.
Yes.
And we will also be changing the theme song to you and I doing a cappella version of ba-na-na-na-na-na.
No,
we will
you know
not
what?
be rehearsing.
We get to do it.
Oh, fuck. Guys, be glad that we can't get a hold of this guy to do it. It's so irritating. That's all the way I can put it. All right, speaking of irritating, track number 7, Hardening of the Arteries.
Finally, we get a song about calcific atherosclerosis.
Yep, and it's just as spooky as it sounds. I think this is a song about somebody who did a bunch of hallucinogens, but then went to the wrong place, like a place where everybody's like in a super bad mood and it's ruining his high, like a DMV or like a car rental place or shit, fucking concerts in the front row. Anywhere that somebody's just a complete shithead.
Yeah.
Airports.
Quite possibly. I think, honestly, though, that this is literally about having a heart attack or possibly a stroke. First of all, I've seen these guys eat. It seems like there were some early warning signs even then. All hot dogs all the time. But a frequently described symptom of a heart attack, kind of like an aura with a seizure, is the feeling of impending doom.
Really?
Yeah, it's the feeling of impending doom. It's angor animi, I think. It's the perception that you're about to die, but you get this doom feel. And I think that's what this song is describing. I think that these guys have had a lot of close calls with heart attacks, even by this point in their life, and they know the feeling.
I got much more of everybody in the world is mean and they don't like me, and
so yours is more of an emo thing.
Yeah, quite frankly, it really is. Let's get into it. Fear runs wild in the veins of the world. The hate turns the skies jet black. Death is assured in future plans. Why live if there's nothing there?
Yeah, it is kind of emo-y.
Like, he's not wrong. Sure, life is completely fucking pointless, but don't get so goddamn dramatic about it. That's what made me think hallucinogens, like somebody who's just being overly flowery about something that, like, we all kind of fucking know, but if you're gonna sit there and linger on it, you're not gonna have time to actually get some shit done.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I get it, Steve. No, man, you don't. Specters of doom await the moment. The mallet is sure and precise. Cover the crypts of all mankind with cloven hoof begone.
Yeah.
No more drugs for that guy.
Yeah, also maybe no more Hot Topic.
Yeah, also I had to Google cloven hoofed animals. It's cows.
Yeah, anything. I mean, again, this is, obviously you don't know because you didn't put the cloven hooves on our interns as they clip-clop around the goddamn apartment and recording studio. But yeah, that's somebody knows what it is.
God, they've been begoated.
Yeah, and betailed and behorned.
I assume that's like some sort of rhesus monkey or something that has a prehensile tail. Otherwise, how are they grabbing beers with them? The whole thing's very upsetting.
I don't know. That Elon Musk guy has gone too far.
Ugh, sadistic minds delay the death of twisted life, malicious world. Chorus really asks us to connect the dots. Like, what does that mean?
I don't know. It's just evil things, right?
Yeah, sadistic minds delay the death of twisted life, malicious world. It is weirdly emo. It's almost like Victorian Gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could picture some sort of Guillermo del Toro situation with that Tom Hiddleston in one of those fancy boy outfits he likes to wear.
Yeah, I think we're all into that.
All picturing that. The crippled youth try in dismay to sabotage the carcass earth. All new life must perish below. Existence now is futile. I have a reading. Do you have a reading?
Nope.
I take this as there's too many people. We need to protect the earth by Thanosing half the world.
Oh, in.
Double guitar solo, and let's see. Honestly, more kind of non sequiturs about how terrible the world is and how there's no point in living until the last minute and 40 seconds, at which point it's all music that ends the whole album. It just slowly fades out.
Yep, it kind of fades out. Does it go back into the Hell Awaits intro?
I believe so.
Okay.
Astute. Tim, how did this do?
Pretty good. This hit number 41 with the Germans and has allegedly sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Our Dutch gave it 13 out of 21 thumbs up, but they were all trembling pretty badly when I asked them. I don't know if that's the terror inspired by the music itself, how cold that whole bike room area is, the fear that another one of them will be taken and transformed.
God, really? I hope that's just a Halloween goof that gets fixed by the end of October.
Hopefully.
What did people think of it?
Will Garrett, we sadly don't have a Robert Christgau review. He did not start reviewing these guys until Rain and Blood, but there are 676 total ratings on Amazon, 4.8 out of 5 stars on average, 86% 5-star, 1% 1-star. Metal Militia Master from 2006. Throughout history, you've had your Metallica Metallicas, you've had your Megadeths, you've had your Black Sabbath, and although each of these bands rock, it is physically impossible to be heavier than Slayer. I mean, come on. Listen to the beginning of Hell Awaits, arguably the scariest intro in all of music. And believe you me, I've heard a lot of scary songs. Basically, Slayer is the heaviest band ever and always will be, and that is a scientific fact. And one more thing, no more 1-star reviews. Slayer deserves respect and they will receive it. And don't be going all Jesus on me. I'm effing Catholic. You can't out Jesus me. 5 out of 5 stars.
This guy's great. So, like, resolute in his beliefs.
Yeah.
I do like the demands, like, hey, and no more fucking 1-star reviews, okay? If I see another one of those, like, what? What's the end of that sentence? Who gives a shit? Although, with this group, based on history, might commit a murder.
Could be. Let's
What else you
bleep his name. Hannah, 2015, perfect condition and got to me before Valentine's Day, which is what I was hoping back then when I got it, since it's a Valentine's Day gift from my boyfriend. Hey, Slayer is way better than stupid candy and romantic gifts. Now, that's a 5 out of 5 star review, Garrett, and I posit Hannah is banging her boyfriend to Slayer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's worse things you could do, I guess. But, Tim, where do you land on Valentine's Day?
I'm super in. What do you mean?
So you give gifts? Do you go to dinner and give gifts?
Oh, I do the whole 9 yards, Garrett.
Wow, okay, interesting. Me? Absolutely not. It's a deal breaker.
Interesting.
It's stupid.
Oh, sure, Garrett. It's dumb. It's real stupid, but, you know.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Stupid. It's like weddings and kissing. I just don't want to do I just don't get it. Oh, I'm gonna put my face on your face. We're gonna move around a little bit. Sometimes I put my tongue in your mouth. Great. I guess.
What do you hate kissing?
What are we doing? Fucking
Moving
nature
on,
land.
Garrett. Ann Ackerman, 2004. If you don't have this, then buy it. Anyone who calls themselves a metalhead, like me, needs to have this by metal law. My personal favorite track has got to be At Dawn They Sleep, followed by Hell Awaits and Necrophiliac. This is where Slayer really started the Slayer sound we've all come to know, love, and live for. Just a fun album. 5 out of 5 stars.
It's a fun album.
By
Our next
metal law.
Yeah, listeners, write in hatePodMail@gmail.com. Are you familiar with metal law? If so, we would like to hear what are the laws of metal in any particular order.
Couple more, Garrett, because these are fun. Gary Kakuza, 2006, and I apologize for some of the language in this review. It is titled, I Hate You Homos.
God damn it.
I'm with Fat Boy Trevor. All you people who have reviewed this album and said it sucked are a bunch of posers. You're all probably gay little homos who listen to like 3-minute songs with no solos. That's probably why you didn't like this. When you saw it, you were probably pissed because it didn't have like 20 tracks. This is a heavy, dark, awesome, fast, thrashy, solid album with some Slayer's best songs ever, like Hell Awaits and Kill Again. I guess the only Slayer you posers listen to is like Diabolus. Posers, 5 out of 5 stars. Not a single bit of punctuation, capitalization, or correct spelling in all of that.
I picked up on that. You seemed very, very winded.
Yes. One more, Garrett. E from 2005. It's called Heaven Calls, but Hell Awaits. Slayer is a real demonic band. Satan has put his evil spirits for every member of this band. Hell awaits for them. Their music is the last call, but why they can't hear that Jesus wants to save them. Evil forces are powerful, but God will be the eternal winner. 1 out of 5 stars.
Oh, this guy was pro-God.
The band is pro-God.
Right. He didn't get it.
Oh, yeah.
What I love, though, is... So, Tim, let's pretend for a moment it's 1985. You've got a 13-year-old son, and you stumble onto Slayer Hell Awaits. Do you give a shit at all?
No, well, it depends. Is he just listening to Necrophiliac?
Oh, yeah, that's a talking to. But, like, this shit's borderline Tolkien.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really... My only issue would just be like, hey, there's better music.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, kids like garbage. I liked garbage. You liked garbage. Everybody listening to this liked garbage. You might have liked Slayer Hell Awaits, which is kind of not so good. Anyway, let's keep the truck moving. Tim, who is this for?
This is for nerds wearing black jeans currently.
Yeah, and I think it's for metalheads in 1985. Like, there wasn't
that's
a
what
lot
I said.
out there. Oh, fair enough. That brings us to final thoughts, Tim. We've been all the way through it. Any grand revelations or final conclusions you want to bestow upon us?
Not really, no.
I will say it might work in their favor that you can't really hear the lyrics very well.
Yeah, because they're dumb.
They're really dumb, and they're too long, and they're redundant, and somehow they are both redundant and completely unrelated.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay. Well, we've been all the way through it, Tim. I'm going to ask you the question. You know what it's going to be. Here it is. Do you hate this album?
No, but it is, again, it's way more meh than I was expecting. I was expecting something truly evil, and I found this album disappointing. I found our conversation to be fascinating, though.
It went a lot of places that had very little to do with Slayer Hell Awaits.
Yes. What about you, friend? Do you hate this album?
No, but I think poorer upon it after going through it with you. Put another way, you've made this worse for me.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, you should. That's a win. Yeah, I think I've said everything I need to say. I agree with you. It's just it's fine. Also, this is what's unfair, and we should have probably said in the opening. This suffers a bit from us looking back in time. This was musically pretty revolutionary for its time.
Sure, yeah. So this was, we didn't say that. This was very influential.
Insanely so. Like, so many artists were inspired by Slayer, not to mention Slayer really was you like, whatchamacallit there with the Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. You like Black Sabbath? Check this shit out. It's faster, it's harder, and we're talking about Satan. Like, I get it, but you're also talking about necrophilia. And that's just hard to rock to for me.
Well, for you.
For me.
And for me.
There's a lot of reasons that you might get into necrophilia, apparently. We don't know what they are. Listeners write in, hatePodMail@gmail.com. Title the email, Hollywood. Okay, that's going to do it for us this week, folks. We've been all the way through it. Reach out to us, hatePodMail@gmail.com or hatepod.com. Click on contact us in the upper left-hand corner. Whatever suits your fancy. Doesn't really make a difference. But please, do write in. What do you like? What do you not like? Suggestions, hopes, dreams, weird stories about this music. Maybe you've seen Slayer. Maybe you have been listening to Slayer your entire life. Perhaps we've left out something incredibly important about this album that you just have to share with us. We only ask that you keep it brief. Those of you who are writing us tomes and you're wondering why we don't reply, we have real lives. For the love of God, we want to reply to you.
We will get back to you eventually. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we will. We will. I'm just saying, brevity is appreciated. That's all. All right. We're on Instagram. That's HatePod. Threads is HatePod. Twitter, X is Album HatePod, unless they start charging money, which allegedly they're going to start charging $1, at which point we will not be on there any longer, because fuck that guy. I'm not giving him $1. Literally. We haven't discussed this. I assume you're on board.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I figured. Okay. We got a subreddit. We got Discord server. We're on the fucking internet. Get out there. Get excited. Listen. For Why I Hate This Album, I've been one of your hosts. I'm sorry I'm shouting. Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Timothy P. Richardson, and 3 times in my life, Garrett has referred to 9/11 as the first 9/11.
Nah, it was an accident.
I'm sure it was. That's not helping.
I'm going to bleep some part of that. It's unclear which. Probably my name.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.